thing that is crazy, Gavin, I had no idea this was about to happen. I want to throw it up on screen just for a second. It looks like the Charlie Kirk shooting suspect has appeared in his initial court hearing. So it's happening right now.
That's him?
That's him right here. So we can go ahead and play it. It's happening live right now. I've rolled it back a few minutes, but we can.
No electronic usage is allowed unless pre-approved. Any disruptions will be removed.
Fuck.
Mr. Scortis.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. You're probably already aware of my presence or why I'm here, but if not, I am not entering an appearance. I'm not counsel on this case. I'm working with the county to.
For the court's information, we did file just recently, within the last few minutes, a notice of intent to seek the death penalty that was filed by Utah County Attorney Jeff Gray. So that should be in the court's
Crazy
file.
this is just like public.
Yeah, it's insane. And
damn. Are they going to start debating about whether they condemn Hamas? But you condemn what you did. We know you did it, but you condemn it.
Yeah, I wonder if he's going to speak.
Lastly, I would just indicate to the court and to, at this point, Mr. Robinson, that we are prepared to collect all of the discovery in this matter and get that turned over to the defense as soon as possible. Rule 16 requires us to provide what we have relied on in charging the information in bringing these charges within 5 days once it's requested. So that'll be prepared to disseminate to the defense as soon as possible.
Thank you, Mr. Grander. Mr. Robinson, what I also want to do is you have the right to have the charges read that you stand charged of, and I wish to read those to you at this time. Thank you. Of the victim as an aggravating factor. Violent offense committed in the presence of a child aggravating factor. The sentencing judge or the Board of Pardons and Parole shall consider as an aggravating factor in their deliberations that the defendant committed a violent criminal offense in the presence of a child. Count 2, felony discharge of a firearm causing serious bodily injury, a first-degree felony.
Let's take a look at
with knowledge that a child was present.
Yeah, so he's likely going to speak after this.
Sub 2, Tyler James Robinson intentionally selected Charlie Kirk because of Tyler James Robinson's belief or perception regarding Charlie Kirk's political expression. That concludes reading the information. Mr. Robinson, this case is set for September 29th at 10 a.m. It will be a waiver hearing, and I will be the judge assigned to this case. Mr. Robinson, I invite you to join us at that time. Is there anything further, counsel?
No, Your Honor, we'll have counsel appointed by then. Thank you.
Mr. Gurander, anything further?
One item, just for clarification, Your Honor, the hearing on the 29th, is that in person or WebEx?
Thank you. That is a great question. It will be via WebEx.
So that's his next appearance in front of the court is going to be on the 29th of September.
Judge.
All right. I want to thank all parties for being here.
And that's the end of it. So that was his first court appearance. He doesn't say anything. He just nodded when the judge addressed him and they read him all of his charges. They're going to seek the death penalty. It's very likely that this kid is going to, go down for this. Obviously, there's more information that's going to come out regarding motive. But the way that they were talking about this, it seems like the prosecutors are pretty confident in their case that they're going to get a conviction. Really, really interesting stuff. We'll keep an eye on it. Obviously, we'll pay attention to the next hearing about, 13 days from now. So
yeah, make sure to subscribe because we're going to be following the fuck out of this trial, assuming there is a real trial.
Oh, there's going to be. Yeah, he pled not guilty, so there has to be a jury trial.
Yeah, we're going to be covering that like flies on shit. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, guys, if you want to get more updates as we continue to pay attention to this case. Because I mean, as we've talked about, Zach, there's been so many fuck ups and fumbles and misstatements along the way that there actually would be a decent, like it wouldn't be the toughest, case ever for his defense to mount. They have enough crazy shit to point to for them to at least muddy the water. So let's hope that they, we can get a real spectacle out of the situation. That would be great if it turns into a real like televised kind of trial. I don't know if it will be televised, but
Yeah, I don't think so, because I don't think you can put a camera in state trials. I don't think there can be a camera in the courtroom when it's state trials. I think federal trials are the ones where maybe it's the other way around though, and there will be a camera in there. But anyway, I hope that we fucking finally get the truth. That's my number one hope, because I just feel like there's so much shady shit that's gone around. I want everybody to have a legitimate, finite conclusion that we all accept, a shared truth based on evidence and not based off of vibes. I know I've put out my vibes and my gut feeling, but I want to make it clear to everyone we will follow wherever the evidence leads us.
oh yeah, I mean, and there is a chance that he's a lefty.
Yeah.
There is a chance. Like I hope that's not the case, but yeah,
There's no
obviously-
evidence to suggest that yet.
right. But I'm just saying it's definitely possible.
Sure.
Definitely possible. The fucking crazy people are going to find reasons to get radicalized, to get motivated to do shit. As we've said before, yeah, you have left-wing killers, you have right-wing killers, you have confused killers who seemingly have a mix of different political persuasions, radicalizing them at the same time. So again, I don't really think it matters that much, like whether he was a groyper. Like it matters because obviously Trump's going to use it against
But he already
us.
has.
He already has, no matter what the fucking reality of the situation is. But like, am I gonna, even if he turns out to be a fucking huge left winger, I don't think that's like the fault of any specific left-wing commentator, or it's not like Antifa, or like, it's just, I mean,
Ian Kaczynski.
if you're going to do something crazy, yeah, you're going to have watch something, you're going to have something in your media. Now, obviously, if it turns out like he was consuming the content of someone who just was literally a violent person, specifically saying like, stoking violence
Like
in his
Nick
community,
Fuentes.
like Nick Fuentes. Yeah, that would definitely be,
And I think that to me, I think that there's a very strong chance we find out that he was on that weird furry fascist Nick Fuentes part of the internet. But again, we'll see. It's all speculation. What we do know is that the people closest to him were absolutely shocked by this, and that he was a participant in largely apolitical and Mormon adjacent Discord chats.
Yup.
And that he was raised by MAGA people, and that he was raised to have an affection for guns, which I think is the part of this conversation that we're not talking about enough, right? Because it feels like we're always talking about it and nobody's ever listening. I feel like the gun worship in this country was just potentially the biggest contributing factor to this.
Yeah, 100%. And it's not just guns. I mean, I know it's like 20 years old at this point, but there's no movie I think which speaks to this the situation in the country better than Michael Moore's Bowling for Columbine.
Yeah.
If you watch that movie, he brilliantly deconstructs how it's not just guns, it's our whole culture of violence. From a very young age, we're taught that violence is the answer. And not just, again, as far as self-defense, but as far as our foreign policy goes. This is a country which teaches you that it's okay and patriotic and good to slaughter people in mass overseas, whose names you don't know, whose country you couldn't point to on a map, to solve our problems. We use violence. We celebrate it. I remember in that movie, they talk about how like right by Columbine is one of the biggest like defense contracting plants, right? They're making weapons that are shipped overseas to slaughter innocent people every day. And it's like, of course, that's going to seep into our society. Our whole fucking country is based on this violent retribution. And then we're going to act like it's crazy when our youth internalizes that and says, okay, I see a problem. The solution is violence.
Yeah, very well said. And everybody should check out Bowling for Columbine. I think you can watch it for free on YouTube. Almost all of Michael Moore's early work is free on YouTube. I definitely recommend that you check that out. Maybe his finest work when it comes to national politics, at least.
It could have been released today. I shit you not. It's so relevant, guys. You got to watch Bowling for Columbine. It genuinely is a masterpiece. It informed my understanding of this country at an early age, and it's never been challenged in a significant. Like I've never, nothing has ever convinced me otherwise. It's literally the best way to understand this country, in my opinion. In addition, I mean, he's made a lot of great movies, but that one always sticks with me.
Yeah, and also everyone, I don't know. Again, I don't know. I don't mean to contribute to anything that I was just being critical of, but it does look like the evidence that they're citing that he was motivated to do this because of Charlie Kirk's hatred is coming back to a note that he left his roommate before the shooting. I don't find that as convincing as a digital trail. Let me just say that. I don't know. Again, I have no reason to suspect that note was fake, other than the fact that we've been constantly lied to by Utah officials who are investigating this and the FBI director. So again, I'm not putting on my tinfoil hat, but I'm just letting everybody know that.
Is that the same note that like supposedly got destroyed or whatever?
Oh God, if it got destroyed, then my tinfoil hat is coming right back on.
Obviously, because I heard I didn't like investigate it, but I heard something about a note like the FBI destroying or admitting to destroying a note or something, like accidentally maybe or some shit. Because yeah, that would really be crazy. If oops, we have a note that proves he's a leftist, but it accidentally got ground into chum.
Yeah.
Oops.
Okay. Well, here it does say now. This one says text messages. So I mean, I wish that the fucking.
I think there was both.
Okay.
Because we read some of the texts, remember, from that like Reuters article. I think they're saying the note was the one where he was specific.
Oh no. Okay. This is crazy. Drop what you're doing. Look under my keyboard. The roommate looked under the keyboard and found a note that stated, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." What? You're joking, right? I'm still okay, my love, but I am stuck in OREM for a
What the fuck is over?
I don't know. Can you Google it from yours?
Yeah.
Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still, to be honest.
Oh, that's a suburb in Utah, Orem.
Oh, okay. To be honest, I'd hope to keep this a secret till I died of old age. I'm sorry to
What?
involve you. Then why did you fucking message about it and leave a note? You weren't
What?
the one who did it right. I'm sorry. I thought they caught the person. No, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from a drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet, almost enough to get out. But there's one vehicle lingering. Why? Why did I do it? I'd had enough of his hatred. Some of the hate can't be negotiated out. If I'm able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen. You're a fucking idiot, dude. How are you texting about this and then still thinking you're gonna get away with it? You can't confess to a crime over text message, over iMessage.
Zoom in a little bit just so people can see, because yeah, this is some genuinely crazy shit. And then she literally asks him why or how long have you been planning it? A bit over a week. I can get close to it, but there's a blah blah blah. I think they already swept. So he admits here that he's been planning this for about a week. Yeah, this is crazy. This partner of his seems genuinely shocked.
Yeah, I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried that my old man would do if I didn't bring back my grandpa's rifle, IDK, if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace it to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits, didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How the fuck will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The fucking messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge woo woo on Fox, I might have a stroke. All right, I'm gonna have to leave it. That really sucks.
So he didn't want people to see those bullets?
I guess.
Is that what he's saying? He's like, I shouldn't have left the rifle because I don't want my assassination to be reduced down to notices bulge woo. That's kind of funny. This kid is like embarrassed by his own like memes on the. Why the fuck did you put them on there then?
Yeah, this is also crazy because this kind of does seem like how the dad would have pieced it together. He says, delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says, grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle and it is very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. Since Trump got into office, my dad has been a pretty diehard MAGA. I'm going to turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. I'm much more worried about you. Don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. Fuck. That's crazy.
Yeah. And a lot of people are saying like, oh, this is obviously fake. Like, this is obviously bullshit or whatever. But I'm also like, like, what would convince you? What exchange would be, oh, that's clearly real? Like, I don't know how the fuck a crazy person that would do this would talk to his partner. Like, I don't know how they would fucking talk. So it's hard for me to tell because obviously I love to be conspiracy pilled as much as the next fucking terminally online person. But also I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, sure, it sounds weird, but I don't know what would sound any less weird.
Yeah, I always think it kind of sounds weird when Zoomers talk to each other over text. You know what I mean? It's
Right.
a little bit different than how my generation would talk over text, which I'm sure is a bit different than how older people, I don't mean elderly, but like people before us would exchange in chat rooms or over IM or in email. It's going to have the flair of your generation. So it's possible it's that. I don't know until until I have a reason to suspect that these have been manipulated. I'm going to go ahead and assume that they're real. I mean, again, this is a piece of context and hard evidence that I was asking for, right? And it's important that we don't lose our heads and get attached to a narrative that we, come out here and we coldly and clinically look at this information. So I'm glad that they did release the screenshots. Again, I would like to see the fucking note released too. Again, it's just crazy. Like, we're gonna have to wait until this goes to trial. It is really possible this guy was mentally unwell, had a trans person in his life that he loved that was his girlfriend, and just did something fucking crazy and irrational. I think that might be Occam's razor with the information we have right now.
Certainly seems like it. I think the weirdest thing to me about all of this is just how impassionate he seems about it, how unpolitical, unradicalized he seems. It's just in every conversation we have with him, in every interaction we have, he just is acting pretty normal. He's not acting passionate, which is usually something that a politically motivated assassin would be, is passionate, right? That's like the only thing they would be. They're so passionate about their politics that they're willing to throw away their whole life to make a statement or whatever. And this guy just doesn't seem to give a fuck. He's not even really defending his actions to the people he's confessed to. Yeah. He's just like, yeah, I did it. I planned it a week ago and I just did this thing. But he's not like, can you believe it? I fucking cleansed the earth of this vermin. Like, he's not using the kind of language that usually people use to hype themselves up when they're going to commit an act of violence that they know will essentially ruin their life, right? He's not pretending to be like a martyr for some cause. He's not really coming at this from an ideological perspective. Mm-hmm. It's almost just like he's talking about like how he just, filled up his gas tank or something. Like, obviously he's, acting a little bit weird because of the fact that he's telling her like not to talk to the media and stuff, but it just doesn't seem like he's passionate enough. He seems so dull.
Yeah, like clinical. I don't know.
Yeah.
And again, that could point towards the fact that this guy is just like a psychopath fucking murderer. People in chat are saying that they're not real screenshots. Obviously, it's not the real screenshots, but this is the evidence that was submitted in the U.S. District Court in Utah that's been transcribed. So in that case filing that the prosecutors brought forward, they do have the screenshots in there, and this is a digitized version for press. So unless you're arguing that the prosecutors are going to be using fake text messages and fake screenshots in the actual case, which I do not have evidence of yet, we do have to kind of take this as at face value. These are text messages that were sent between Robinson's phone and this roommate that he had. I think it's fair to assume that these are real.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I'm also assuming they're real until we get evidence that they're not.
Right.
I'm going to assume they are. I don't just want to question every single fucking thing that comes in front of us. Obviously, that's how you just going crazy. It's how you turn to Jimmy Dore. But yeah, it's so weird because again, in this message, he says he's like, "Fuck, I was hoping to take the secret to my grave," essentially implying that like, oh shit, I thought I could just get away with this. I thought no one would fucking check up on me. No one would check the security cameras. Like, what? That's the other weird thing. As I mentioned yesterday, to pull this off takes a serious level of sophistication and intelligence. And clearly this kid was intelligent. He has SAT scores in the 30s. He's
really?
Yeah.
Whoa, I didn't read that.
Very intelligent individual. And clearly this assassination was planned not by a sloppy person. This is someone who's very, sophisticated. And it's just crazy that sophistication totally ends as soon as he jumps off that building, as soon as he jumps off the roof. It's like he turns into a dumbass. He turns into a dolt. He's, oops, I'm going to start texting people about it. I'm going to fucking completely act like, I could just get away with it. I was hoping to take the secret to my grave. What the fuck? You didn't have a plan. You didn't have a second step. You didn't have a next part of the plan. Like, how the fuck can you go from being so smart to just being so stupid?
Yeah, we said ACT, buddy. That's out of 36. So
whatever.
No. You were right. This guy was saying we were wrong, and I was saying no. Gavin was right because I took the ACT too, motherfuckers.
I probably got like a fucking 12 on that shit.
No, you did decently well in the English section. I remember you got like a 35.
Probably that was the only one I did well.
Hey, that's what we do for a living, so that's all these people get to know about. I remember I only got a 34 on the English section. I was like, Gavin beat me by 1, but I was really proud of my 34 on the English section.
Yeah, that's fire.
Either way, we were clearly not interested in math and sciences because I'm not going to tell you what I got on either of those, but. Yeah, I mean, that is crazy. This is clearly a smart guy. And I wonder if he was just he got hyper focused on the act and pulling it off. And then in the adrenaline and the relief and all whatever he was feeling because he was able to pull it off, that it was just replaced by hubris for the moment. right? Or I don't know. And I think also it is worth considering that one thing that fucks a lot of criminals is the fact that they can't help but brag about it. They just cannot help but tell somebody. They cannot live being the only one that knows what they did, especially if they pull it off, And so he's like, fuck, okay, so they don't know it's me. I got away. Okay, like, oh, it's probably all going to blow over, which was stupid and short-sighted and indicative of a young adolescent person without their prefrontal cortex developed. I think all of that is fair to point out. This was a 22-year-old kid. But I do think he might have had this false sense of security in that moment and been desperate to communicate with somebody. So he reached out to the person he's closest to.
Yeah, it's just bizarre that you had a week to plan this, planned it pretty well, but didn't plan anything for what your next step would be. Just assumed that there wouldn't be any surveillance footage and no forensic investigation would occur after this earth-shattering fucking assassination. Like, obviously, they're going to find you. Obviously, like, I mean, he honestly got lucky with how fucking useless Kash Patel was. Maybe they wouldn't have, but in a fucking normal world, obviously, yeah, they're gonna fucking find you. For him to genuinely be like, I guess they're gonna find me. I was really hoping I'd get away with this. It's like, well, you didn't act like you were hoping to get away with it. You didn't act like you had a single fucking plan to get away with it.
Why are you not in your car speeding to Mexico right now?
Right. It's wild that he didn't have a second part of this plan because they gave him 48 hours to get away. He easily could have. He could have been in Mexico. But yeah, it is weird. I agree that it reads very awkwardly. Some people are saying, it reads like a bad movie or whatever, but it's also, again, like, I don't know if I could create something that looks any more realistic, like if someone was like, write dialogue that's more realistic than this. Like, I don't know how the fucking crazy people talk to each other. These weird terminally online, Gen Z people. Like, I don't fucking know. Maybe they are this awkward that they do communicate like that. It's really not that hard to fucking, picture, in my opinion.
And the fact that he's a smart guy kind of lends credence to, or this does lead credence to the fact that he's a smart guy because the punctuation is really on point, right? Like he uses quotation marks correctly in a way that a lot of Zoomers won't do. Like he says, if I see notices bulge uwu or whatever the fuck, he puts it in quotations. Like I don't know if this has been manipulated in any way. I wouldn't assume that it has. We have no evidence to support that, right? There's this weird face that he makes with the 2 semicolons and a dash right here at the end of saying it was a 2K scope that he lost. And I mean, a $2,000 scope, that makes sense how he was able to pull it off. You know what I mean? He was a long ways away. He used a fucking hunting rifle and a $2,000 scope that he stole from his dad. Like, that does kind of make sense given the information what we have here. And to me, this doesn't mean for certain that he wasn't, somewhat in the weird Nazi Groiper furry subreddits. I just think that it is more clear that he did have someone who was trans in his life.
Yeah. Crazy shit. A lot of people in chat seem unconvinced. I mean, Luigi wrote deny, depose, whatever the fuck on his bullets, right? So clearly he was doing it for a reason. Like, there was a motivation. I guess you could call it a political motivation. But I mean, you could also just say the dude felt fucked over by that industry. You know what I'm saying? In the same way, if someone got ripped off by a local shop owner and then they went back to that shop the next day and killed the person or whatever, like, that's also a motivation that doesn't technically equate to terrorism either.
Mm-hmm.
So again, it's technically political because healthcare is considered like a political subject matter. We talk about it in the context of politics all the time, but it's also just kind of like a vendetta. Like this guy is responsible for something that fucked me or my family over. As far as the Charlie Kirk one, I still don't really get the motive. Again, Luigi did make it pretty clear. He was like, I'm pissed about the healthcare industry. Time to go kill the healthcare CEO. This dude just wrote like, I'm a fucking furry. I love, I'm gay or
woo. Yeah, whatever the fuck that
means. Like, I'm Discord is like all these online memes and shit. So it's like, okay, bro, like, were you a leftist? Were you a groiper? What the fuck is your motivation?
Yeah, well, that's actually really interesting. Right before we went live today, Gavin, there was this article that Ken Klippenstein, friend of the show, published on his Substack. Exclusive: leaked messages from Charlie Kirk assassin. Accused shooter's politics is not what the government and media say. And I knew from jump, Gavin, you knew from jump. We were looking at this. We were like, this guy, Mormon, white boy, fucking gun expert from Utah doesn't strike me as a leftist. I was going to be fucking shocked. I was going to Werner Herzog eat my fucking shoe on air if this guy turned out to be a leftist. It seems like the picture is much more, oh, this guy seemingly fits the descriptors of like a random ass just fucking shooter, right? Like a school shooter. And, you know, we have very limited information. I want to make that clear. So a lot of this is still speculation from everybody. We hope to find out more. But I think that Ken Klippenstein does a good job.
Dude, really love those sunglasses too. Every single fucking photo he's wearing those things.
Yeah. And I'm not a big fan of sunglasses that are that shaped, the like NASCAR shaped sunglasses. I guess that's kind of in style again now, but I've never been into it. I've always been more of a Wayfair kind of a guy.
They're about to be a lot more in style. No, I'm just kidding. But kind of like how Luigi's like outfit like got all popular. Remember that? But no, they kind of make you look like an alien. That's what I think. They make you look like one of those like stereotypical gray aliens, you know, with the giant
That's very
eyes.
true.
I'm like, it's just not really a look.
Yeah. So this is interesting. It says, "Hey guys, I have bad news for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday." Thus, Tyler Robinson messaged his friends on Discord, seemingly apologizing for murdering Charlie Kirk. "I'm sorry for all of this. I obtained this and other Discord chats I've decided to publish. The legacy news media, as usual, refuses, along with new information I've learned about Robinson from the people that knew him best." So this is screenshots from the Discord. And this is the Zealous Monkey account, which has been attributed to Tyler Robinson. This is the quote that I just read.
This is the most Gen Z shit too, by the way. RIP, I guess. Bro didn't deserve to go out like that. Sad.
True. True. RIP, I guess, right? And then he says,
so sorry, what was the message from him? He says,
he basically confesses right here, which is strange. Like, I don't know why you would just go on Discord and confess to a crime like this. He says, "Hey guys, I have bad news for all of you. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff friend in a few moments. Thanks for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you all for everything."
Sounds like his dad wrote that. Just kidding, obviously. But I mean, yeah, that is weird. That is weird. And it does, like, I remember the initial reporting said that he told his dad he'd rather kill himself than turn himself in. So this suggests that, you know, his dad convinced him that it really was. Maybe he's like, "Trust me, son, we have great lawyers. You're going to be fine. We have the best lawyers in the country. I think you're going to be fine, son." Maybe that's what convinced him to turn himself in. But eventually, based on this message, yeah, it does seem like he willingly surrendered himself to the friend of the family who was like a pastor, youth pastor / federal marshal or something. Quite a combination.
Yeah, for sure. And I did some looking into that. This dude was raised like Mormon. Like,
yeah,
he was deeply involved in the Mormon church. His whole family was deeply involved in the Mormon church. They considered that guy a very close family friend, as well as like a pastor or whatever the hell.
Fucking everyone in Utah is Mormon. It's like Israel for Mormons.
Yeah,
like, I'm not even kidding. It's fucking crazy.
Yeah. I mean, you think more people in Kansas City would be Mormon because Independence is supposed to be their Garden of Eden. We do have a decent amount of Mormons here, but not as much as Utah, apparently.
I think if you actually go to Independence, there is a fuck ton of Mormons.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, Gavin and I, we don't spend a lot of time in the Mormon community with the dirty sodas and whatnot. Trump and company portray the alleged Utah shooter as a left wing, and liberals portray him as a right wing. The federal conclusion will inevitably be that he was a so-called nihilist, violent extremist. Meanwhile, the crackdown has already begun, as I reported yesterday. The country is practically ready to go to war. And this is a quote that says, "It's been so terrible, and seeing it from an inside perspective is so frustrating. A friend of Robinson since middle school told me. The childhood friend, who asked not to be named for fear of threats, provided me with the above non-public photo of Robinson on a camping trip, a favorite activity of his, to corroborate their relationship. I think the main thing that's caused so much confusion is that he was always generally apolitical for the most part," the friend told me. "That's the big thing. He just never really talked politics, which is why it's so frustrating." The picture that emerges bears little resemblance to the media version. Robinson, I am told, though quiet, was a well-liked person with a supportive family. The friend group who he interacted with on Discord, far from some kind of militia camp or Antifa bunker it's been portrayed as, represented a range of different political views, but mostly talked video games. Yesterday, FBI Director Kash Patel said in an interview that Robinson, quote, "subscribed to left-wing ideology," end quote, citing his family's remarks to investigators. But those close to Robinson say there was a lot of his family didn't know about him. Their ideas are based on someone they didn't fully understand, the childhood friend told me. Though the family was generally supportive of Robinson, a claim corroborated by his mother's Facebook account brimming with praise for Tyler, they didn't seem to know about his relationship with a transgender person named Lance, his friend said.
So that is real. He did have a relationship with a trans person.
I guess that part is true. Yes. I didn't realize that either. When I asked if his family would have been accepting, the friend replied, "I don't think even Tyler knew the answer to that question, which is why he kept it so low-key between themselves." Tyler's bisexuality, the friend said, was coupled with openness on LGBTQ issues.
See, he really is like Nick Fuentes. He has to keep his trans partner a secret in
Yeah.
fear of backlash from his broader community.
Yeah, that's interesting. This is interesting because when I read this, I looked at mostly the confession before we went live. So yeah, it does seem like the dude was seeing a trans woman. Obviously, he's okay with gay and trans people having a right to exist, but also believes in the Second Amendment, the friend said, referring to the right to bear arms. The friend described Robinson as fairly typical of a young man his age from Utah, someone who loved the outdoors, was a gamer, and into guns. To all of us, he just seemed like a simple guy who liked playing games like the Sea of Thieves, Deep Rock Galactic, and Helldivers 2, loved to fish and loved to camp, the friend said. It really did seem like that's all he was about.
Speaking of, I just got into playing Sea of Thieves on my Xbox.
Oh,
Fun
yeah?
fucking game. Fun game. It's kind of like you're a pirate. You know, you got to sail around the
Oh,
high
you were
seas.
telling me about that, actually.
Yeah, it's good shit. Good shit. So this guy had good taste in games. But it is really interesting that, you know, he apparently does have a trans partner, but I do find it interesting that he doesn't like talk a bunch about his politics, at least to this group of friends.
Mhm.
Obviously, I feel like most people on the left, and I say this as a leftist, you know, we love to virtue signal, we love to let everyone know about our politics and stuff like that. So it is surprising that if he was a hardcore left winger, no one really knew that. What would make a little bit more sense, and I'm just speculating, but say you do have a habit of listening to Nick Fuentes every day. It's not something you want to brag about to your other college age friends, probably. Like, again, total speculation, but I don't have any problem admitting that I'm a liberal or a leftist or whatever. Like, I've always been proud of that my whole life. I imagine that there is a section of people, specifically in the youth, that it's like if you listen to Nick Fuentes a lot, you're probably going to keep that to yourself unless you happen to be in a group of super like-minded, like other Nazi kind of people. So it's possible that he just didn't talk about it because he was like, you know, this is I don't want to fucking, you know, be judged by these people. I don't want to have to debate like whether or not the Jews got fucking holocausted or whatever.
Yeah, I also think it's fair to point out that a lot of people who do not identify as leftists have had relationships with trans people, right? Like there's this big misrepresentation that anybody who doesn't want trans people to die, or like anybody that, you know, is of the opinion that trans people are just normal people or whatever, is like a radical fucking Antifa leftist, when in reality there are so many people who are either apolitical or, yes, hardcore right-wingers who will have relationships with trans women throughout their life, right? Not just Nick Fuentes being an example, but there are plenty of also high-profile trans women who make right-wing content.
Yeah, 100%. Also, I think it's worth noting, correct me if I'm wrong, chat, but I'm pretty sure I read that Utah is the #1 state that consumes trans porn. Like they consume the most trans porn, which makes sense given how religious it is and Mormon and stuff. But, you know, that's kind of funny too, sticking with the stereotypes.
Let's see. It's inaccurate. The idea has the highest pornography. Oh, no. Let's see. Hold on.
Texas is according to this.
Yeah.
I can swear I saw Utah.
I'm sure Utah's on the top 5. Anyway, there's a little bit more to this article from Ken Klippenstein that we could take a look at. He goes down, and one of the things that I did see was they attached some of his coverage of politics from the past. So he says in September of 2019, an impeachment inquiry has been placed against Donald Trump. He could get booted if they find he committed the shit he's accused of.
Wow, thanks for your analysis. That was some real deep fucking analysis there from Zealous Monkey 55095.
And then somebody asked him, apparently he is somewhat political, right? Because they ask him what he thinks about the election. They say, who is winning the election? You would know, Zealous Monkey. And he says, Biden is in the lead with electoral votes wise, but there are still some swing states that haven't finished voting, as well as most of the West Coast. Raw votes, Donald is in the lead by a little over 1 million votes. Who is probably going to win? I'm not sure. When will we know? Not until pretty late, but we should have a pretty good idea by the end of the night, unless it's really close or something.
Watch this dude be like a Voshite. I could see him being a Voshite, like, you know, just like he's into furry shit. You know, he's kind of into that weird part of the internet, but also he's just sort of like a normie, like Biden bro or something at the end of the day.
Yeah, it's interesting. I'm wondering why they don't have more screenshots from him, like in 2024's election cycle. You know what I mean? Like this goes back to 2020, and then it immediately jumps to this one, which is a interesting post that was in one of the Discord servers that he was in. He said, "Hey everyone, if you've not seen the news yet, Tyler's post above is true." Oh, and this is in response to him saying, like, "I did it, guys. I was the shooter at UVU that we read earlier in the live stream." He was.
So who wrote this post?
So this is like whoever runs the Discord response to him confessing to the crime. So if we like go back up to the top here, for people who weren't.
No, I remember this.
Oh, no, I was just for people who didn't know, he like confessed in the chat right down here, and then this is the person's response to him. Hey everyone, if you have not seen the news yet, Tyler's post above is true. He was taken into custody earlier today for the shooting of Charlie Kirk. Regardless of the horrible actions that took place, we must take this moment to remember that God is a living and loving God who loves all his children. God calls sinners to be his saints, and I ask that you all take a quiet moment to pray for Tyler and his repentance. While Charlie Kirk's politics were not acceptable to some, I ask that we all say a prayer for him and his family during these confusing times. Love you all. God bless. So just not giving radical lefty vibes in this chat at all.
No, this chat definitely gives, you know, just kind of basic conservative family vibe, like not overly interested in politics, but still enough of a religious conservative foundation to be like, we need to pray for repentance or whatever for Tyler. So yeah, it's still very weird that out of all of this stuff that's come up, like, we still don't really have any actual breadcrumbs that would lead to a motive. Again, just beyond like, well, this guy didn't agree with everything Charlie Kirk said, but there's nothing to suggest he was radicalized. There's nothing to like, I'd love to see, just out of curiosity, not because it really means much, but I'd love to see like who he was subscribed to on YouTube, you know, what kind of content creators he followed, who did he watch the most, who did he listen to, or what did he read? You know, it's weird.
Yeah, I'm hoping that more of that comes out, right? I'm hoping that more of that comes out. Boots Riley had a tweet that's been really stuck in my head, and he tweeted out something along the lines of, "I wonder when the prosecutors say he's not cooperating means he refuses to identify as a leftist." And I am wondering why we haven't seen more of his internet history coming out, why we haven't seen more of, you know, this guy's stuff. It could just be a matter of time. It could be stuff that takes till, you know, closer to the trial to come out. I imagine we will get a more complete picture, but like this is the kind of stuff that he was saying on another profile, which is called Bedbug Inspector or Bed Booch Inspector,
Bed Bulge Inspector.
Yeah, Gambling and Glazing. He said another John Arbuckle appears.
This is why I don't like Discord, by the way. Like, this is just fucking stupid. It's not. None of these conversations are good. It just seems like annoying fucking shit. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like spring in southern Utah from March of 2025.
Thanks for your fucking contribution.
Yeah, like somebody said they had to replace a monitor that was on a wall mount, and he's like, "I know the feeling." This is a picture of
the fuck.
I don't know what the hell this is a picture.
Looks disturbing.
Yeah. So. Yeah, no one in Robinson's group is cheering or justifying the murder in any of the messages I reviewed. They're just struggling to understand what their friend did, but Washington has become obsessed with the Discord chat, convinced it's some kind of headquarters for the murder and cauldron of radicalization and conspiracy. Today, FBI Director Patel vowed to investigate anyone and everyone in that Discord chat. What I see is a bunch of young people shocked, horrified, and searching for answers like the rest of the country. So, interesting.
Yeah, and obviously you guys remember Discord itself had to come out and deny what I believe it was Kash Patel who said that like this murder was planned on Discord. Essentially, Kash Patel was like, they planned it on Discord, yada yada yada. Then Discord, the company, had to come out because this is a fucking reputational nightmare for them. The director of the FBI says that, then the next day, every single American who's never heard of Discord before automatically is going to associate it as like a 4chan or Kiwi Farms kind of internet hellhole where murders are planned. And so the Discord company had to come out and be like, yo, this was not true. Discord is not where murders are planned. This is a very normal, wholesome site,
Yeah.
which is arguable. There is a dark side to Discord, obviously. A lot of grooming and stuff like that goes on the platform, as we've talked about before. But yeah, seemingly from the evidence that we have available at the moment, no, the murder was not planned on Discord. Tyler Robinson's friends on Discord had no idea this was happening and seemed to be genuinely shocked, so much that they were praying for his repentance. Like, these were people that clearly were shocked by this and took their religion seriously. And also clearly didn't consider their friend to be someone who they would think would be possible or capable of doing something like this.
Yeah, I think to me, this really indicates that at least there's no meaningful evidence that he was on the left, which is the narrative that Donald Trump, JD Vance, Kash Patel, the entire administration has been running with from jump. It also contradicts what the Utah governor said, saying we don't know the motive, but we know that he was a deep left winger, right? Or deeply leftist, or however he actually
indoctrinated by leftist ideology.
Yeah, exactly. That's what they were arguing. There is literally zero evidence to indicate that. And I am still on the train that I think that this dude was a groiper. Like, I still, that's where my gut tells me, like, I'm happy to be proven wrong. Maybe he was just like an apolitical nihilist who felt like he had nothing to live for and wanted to go do something like Travis Bickle style for clout. I don't know. If that comes out, I will accept that being the case. But to me, it doesn't smell right. And I think that you hit the nail on the head, Gavin. You don't tell people when you're consuming these ridiculous right-wing fucking content, right? And again, the Catboy thing with Nick Fuentes, the fact that he had this huge fucking campaign against Charlie Kirk that now he's pretending did not exist, right? It really is suspicious to me. And on top of that, the fact that the United States government feels no obligation to be truthful in reporting this, they're just coming out and blaming it on the left with no evidence, right? And then you have a bunch of people who are trying to pin it on Israel. It's just everybody out here just with their preordained conclusion about what happened. And you could say I'm guilty of that too, because I was like, you fucking hate the groipers. That's why you think it's a groiper. Potentially so. But what we can say we know for a fact is there is no evidence to support that he was like an Antifa radical leftist, or that he was in these like deeply leftist cells on the internet, which I'm not even going to deny exist. There are fucking group chats that you can go on, and it'll be just like there are right-wing group chats you can go on to where it's like fantasizing about being in a militia and like the revolution's going to start tomorrow, bro. If he was in those group chats and you could produce evidence of that, I'd be like, well, that fucking sucks. This guy was radicalized on the left. But we don't have that evidence, and the fact that they continue to assert that that's what it is when there's nothing to support that, it's fishy.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it seems like the only evidence that he was on the left is that he had this association with a trans person, which, as you said, is not evidence that he's on the left. And if anything, like, it doesn't mean fucking anything. As I was talking about yesterday, there's actually a surprising amount of overlap online between the Nazi community and the furry community. And obviously you can be a straight furry, I suppose, but it does seem like the majority of the furry community intersects with the LGBT community. So it's just to say, it's not all as black and white as mainstream conservatives want to make it out. And let's not forget Milo Yiannopoulos. Let's not forget that Nick Fuentes himself is almost undoubtedly a closet gay man who's on video, not only most likely having sex with another man, but also allegedly on a date with a cat boy, furry type kid from like Sweden or some shit. So there is a lot more overlap. And again, even if this person was deeply in love with a trans individual, that does not mean that they weren't watching Nick Fuentes or that they weren't part of the groiper community. Whether they were private or public about that is a different story. And I think there's a good chance they were private about it if they were a Nick Fuentes groiper, because like I said, who the fuck wants to, even in deep religious Utah, I still think that in polite society, most people aren't just going around there bragging about being a literal Nazi, a literal Jew hating Nick Fuentes listener. So again, I could totally see someone who watches Nick Fuentes watching it in private and not bragging about it. Maybe even watching it like an incognito or private tab or something like that, 100%. Right? Because they just don't want that. They don't want people to think of them that way. It doesn't seem like Nick Fuentes is the kind of person you listen to on the, like, you put it on when you have the aux in the car, when you're riding with your friends, you usually aren't going to put on Nick Fuentes. That's more of like you're alone in your room at night and you're going to turn this on when no one is watching. Kind of
on a podcast when somebody else is riding in the car with you. You're a psychopath.
You know what I'm saying, though? It's not something you're going to want to share with your friends. You might put on like Shane Gillis's podcast or something. If you're like riding
I
around with
would
your
complain.
friends.
I'd be like, bro, I don't listen to this podcast. Put on something universal, okay? Let's play the hits only. But
Also, is it cool that I open one of those windows? I
Oh,
feel
yeah.
like it's getting like
Oh,
dark
yeah.
in here.
Or yeah, for sure. Or you can flip on the light because I didn't turn the light on because it was bright in here when we first started streaming. But if you look here, it says, while Charlie Kirk's politics were not acceptable to some, I ask that we all say a prayer for him and his family during these confusing times. That lets you know right there, whatever this group that he was heavily active in, right? And there was a lot of receipts of him posting in this Discord. So he was very active in it. It was with a religious group of people, but it was exactly right, Gavin. It was not the kind of people that wanted to come out here and be like, I fucking hate the Jews. Like black people are less human than me. Like the ridiculous, depraved Nazi talking points that Nick Fuentes constantly espouses, right? It was like, oh, you know, our Discord server probably does lead traditional conservative Utah values, but there, even on that part of the internet, Nick Fuentes is largely considered beyond the pale. And I think that nothing evidences that more than this, you know, Charlie Kirk's politics were not acceptable to some. I ask that we still, you know, all pray for him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Super interesting. I guess the other takeaway I have from this is like, I guess it's surprising to me the amount of friends he did have or the amount of social connections he did have, even over just like Discord and stuff. I don't know. I guess I just, when it comes to these shooter types, I just always have the idea that they're total loners and that part of the reason why they commit these acts of violence is because they have no one. They have no friends. They have no one to tell them, hey, dude, don't fucking do that. They have no one to like set them on the right course other than potentially their parents who like don't understand them or whatever. So it is very weird to me that this person seemingly not only had like a whole Discord group chat of friends, but also a partner, right? You think with all of that to lose, you wouldn't just throw your life away as someone who's not even that political to begin with. But
that's what doesn't add up to me. That's what does not add up to me, right? Because one of the things that you pointed out, and I did go and watch that entire YouTube video that you sent me about the dudes that did Columbine. Fucking crazy that that lady was able to get away with all this, because I swear to God, dude, I was just going through my life thinking like one of these dudes was like probably like very close to being like, you know, mentally handicapped. And then the other one was like the fucking mastermind, right? And the only reason that he hung out with this dude was because he would do whatever they said. That's really the impression that I think a lot of people have about Columbine. And you watch this and just like, no, dude, they were both fully conscious fucking psychopaths, and that's why they did fucking Columbine, right?
Yeah,
but
enabled by their parents' negligence.
1,000,000% enabled. It blew my mind. The fucking police had found a pipe bomb that this guy done. Anyway, we don't have to go down the rabbit hole of Columbine, but there was a lot of negligence that led to the fucking Columbine massacre. That, I mean, it was devastating to watch. Actually, it was fucking horrible that they didn't prevent this when they absolutely could have. But we talked about how there's never been a mass shooting that was done by a pair of individuals at a school like that. It was always lone wolf style. It was always somebody that had been radicalized by their isolation. There always is a motivation behind it, though. There's always a motivation behind it. And even if you are just some sort of like deranged nihilist, usually you go shoot up kids at your school because you have some sort of resentment build up towards them, right? I'm not justifying it at all. It's horrible and unconscionable.
Right, you're bullied or whatever.
But that's what they will tell themselves, that they're going to get revenge. Like, my last stand is going to prove to these guys that, you know what I mean? That's the narrative that we've all kind of accepted to kind of figure out why this is happening. But I feel like there has to be something that we're going to learn that is like the fucking straw that broke the camel's back. Why did he go and get up on that rooftop and shoot Charlie Kirk in the fucking neck? That we have to know. And
CIA mind control.
You know, there's that theory, like the dude that, you know, people have been saying that the old guy that, you know, said, oh, I did it. Like, people were saying that he was at 9/11 when it happened. People were saying that there's all kinds of conspiracies about that guy, saying that he was involved in other things. Let me see if I can find an article about that.
That guy's one of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse. You see him at and he's saying it's crazy. That's wild.
Yeah. Let me see really quickly. Like, Utah man at Charlie Kirk killing who distracted.
Also, yeah, while you're looking that up, the pipe bomb thing is crazy because actually people don't realize Columbine was a failed bombing. They wanted to bomb the whole school and basically kill everyone there. It was only once the bombs didn't detonate that they decided, well, fuck it, let's just kill as many people as we can with these guns. But yeah, it was supposed to be a way bigger mass casualty event. They were trying to take out like literally the entire fucking school. And imagine if they had succeeded, bro. Like, it's crazy enough that they killed as many people that they did in retrospect, with like more than your average school shooter does these days. But imagine if they had bombed the whole fucking school. That would have been insane.
Not only, yeah, and not only just pipe bomb plans that he posted on his website that were reported to the police and the principal. And yeah, they built the bombs in propane tanks. It was crazy. It was only because they got more ambitious than pipe bombs that they didn't get set off, because it's really hard to make fucking propane bombs. And these guys were not very fucking smart, obviously. They were just a bunch of high school rejects. But this is the article I was talking about. This guy did get arrested. Again, I don't know how much of the accusation that he saw 9/11 is true. That's just speculation.
He had CP on his phone. What?
Yeah. So
Bro.
this is, yeah, Griffin sent me this and was like, Israeli confirmed. And I was like, oh,
They're like, hey man, we're gonna need to take a look at your phone. He's like, what? I thought you cleared me. No.
yeah. And so it said George Zinn, accused of obstructing justice, was also booked in connection with images on his cell phone of child abuse. A man who was detained moments after Turning Point USA executive director Charlie Kirk's killing has been arrested on allegations of trying to thwart authorities by falsely confessing to the fatal shooting. After being arrested on Monday, 71-year-old George Zinn faces a count of obstruction of justice, a second-degree felony, in the wake of Kirk's killing at the University of Utah Valley in Utah. He was also booked in connection with images on his cell phone depicting child abuse, said state authorities, who took Zinn into custody after he was released from a hospital that was treating him for a medical condition. Documents filed in Zinn's case by UVU. Campus police alleged that he began screaming, "I shot him, now shoot me," in the immediate aftermath of Kirk's killing at Utah Valley on 10th of September. Video of officers holding down Zinn was widely circulated online. Then when asked by an officer where the gun used to kill Kirk was, Zinn allegedly replied, "I am not going to tell you." Police contend that Zinn subsequently admitted that he was not the shooter and did not know who was, and he purportedly claimed that he had acted how he did to draw attention away from the real killer in hopes of becoming a martyr for Charlie Kirk.
And in the process of that, he then had to reluctantly admit to investigators that he used his phone to look at CP, as it says a few paragraphs down. Yeah, he allegedly was reluctant to let investigators look at his phone, saying he used the device to look at child sexual abuse material, which is pretty crazy. Again, this dude was trying to be a martyr for Charlie, and in the process, just he could have just got away unscathed. But because he's apparently crazy and wanted attention, he accidentally implicated himself and exposed himself as a pedo. Oops.
Oh, including of minors believed to be between 5 and 12 years old, guys, as well as explicit messages sharing the imagery with others. Investigators said ultimately authorities arrested Zinn on counts of obstruction of justice linked to the aftermath of Kirk's killing and sexual exploitation of minors for the alleged content on his phone. Police announced the arrest of Kirk's actual suspect killer on Friday, yada, yada, yada.
This is the only actual police work that went down, was catching this fucking pedo.
Yeah.
That was the only actual investigation that happened that wasn't just by like Tyler's dad.
Yeah, it says Zinn has a history of criminal charges and convictions in Utah over the previous 3 decades. According to KSL and other local media reports, notably in 2013, he was arrested on allegations that he asked Salt Lake City, Utah marathon organizers if he could help set up bombs at the finish
Is that what
line.
you were talking about, and not 9/11?
People were saying 9/11. I'm going to Google that after this and see if there's any actual evidence of that.
Because if it's 9/11, the Boston bombing, and this, that would really be a little bit too fucking suspicious.
I don't think he was actually at the Boston bombing. I think that it inspired him because it had happened days earlier.
Okay, so he was arrested on allegations that he had asked what?
Yeah, so apparently, I think he's a crazy person, man. He asked the Salt Lake City, Utah marathon organizers if he could help set up bombs at the finish line, the deadly 2013 marathon.
Yeah, this dude is crazy, or he's a government asset who's like, I don't know. This seems sus. This seems sus, but it could be some weird ass like. Yeah, I don't want to start speculating about, anything that's like just straight up conspiratorial crap, but
yeah, let me LOL, it's trying to link me to a Grok conversation. That's so fucking stupid. Either way, I don't think that it's actually true that he was there at 9/11. I think that's a conspiracy theory.
Okay.
But I did see it going around because conspiracy theories have been going wild on the internet, and people who know better have been really fanning the flames of them to try and fucking,
that's the age we live in.
Launder their fucking guy Charlie's reputation. Oh no, trust me, bro. He was just this few days away from telling everybody he couldn't stand the genocide anymore that he'd fucking actively campaigned for months and months and months and months. Sure, bro.
Did you see the Gray Zone reporting?
Bro,
about
fuck.
Bill Ackman or whatever.
Oh God, I don't give a shit about that. I had this tweet of Candace Owens.
Oh yeah, she ran with it for sure.
Oh yeah, and it's like the lady who thinks Harvey Weinstein is innocent and that Bridget McCrone is a man, has some new intel on a hot conspiracy. Like, give me a fucking break. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah. I mean, again, it's one of those things where it's like I don't want to both things could be true at once. It is true that I'm sure any group like TPUSA that's receiving as much donor money from right-wing billionaires and Zionist billionaires, obviously they are going to put pressure on you. You agree with that?
Oh, of course.
So that's obviously was happening. And it is possible that Charlie Kirk was starting to question what was happening because guess what? So is fucking everyone, like Piers Morgan, for example, that for fucking years did Zionist propaganda and now finally, is like, oh, I'm a little bit uncomfortable with the bloodshed. I think the IDF has gone too far. So it's possible that Charlie Kirk was just trying to preserve his influence
That's
with
exactly
the youth.
what he was doing.
If TPUSA was a youth event, he wanted to
Yep.
preserve his influence with the youth, the Republicans who were increasingly becoming groypers, let's be honest.
Oh yeah, he wanted to save his audience from running directly to Nick Fuentes, who was constantly hammering Charlie and saying, "You're not actually
Right.
America first," right? And
it is, and I do imagine, I would not be surprised if he was at one of these events and someone like Bill Ackman was like, hey, what's with this pandering to the Nick Fuentes, Tucker Carlson wing of the party? You're supposed to be our guy. Why are we paying you all this fucking money if it's not to do Zionist propaganda? Stay in fucking line, boy. Like, I could totally see that. But I also don't think I could see that happening. I just don't think that they would have go so far as to literally kill him over it. Like, that just seems too far. I don't see enough evidence that he was so out of line.
Fucking evidence for it.
Yeah.
There's zero evidence for it. That's what drives me crazy. No, I totally concede that he could have decided to publicly change his position on Israel, but it's not because of some morality. It's not because of, his ethics demanded it or whatever horseshit. It's because he saw his audience running fast towards Nick Fuentes and he wanted to stop the bleeding, no pun intended, right? And the problem is that now they want to spin it as if Charlie was actually a good guy, bro. Let's launder his reputation. Israel took him out because he was so close to Donald Trump, bro. And if he would have just said, bro, he could maybe Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, if he's a powerful guy, bro. So maybe it was gosh. And it's just like running to a narrative that would, be really, really, really self-serving to all those people when there's zero evidence other than the fact that Bill Ackman, who has bitched about Israel every single fucking day. Nobody is fucking Zionist enough for Bill Ackman. He said, he really finger wagged at Charlie and Netanyahu fucking killed him because of it. And there's just no evidence to support that. And it drives me crazy that so many people are running with that narrative. It really drives me crazy because I fucking hate Israel more than anyone, right? Like, just as much as all the fucking most radical Israel fucking haters, I hate Benjamin Netanyahu. There's so much legitimate shit to criticize Benjamin Netanyahu over. Like, I don't understand why we have to, pretend that he was behind the murder of Charlie fucking Kirk, right? And I linked it when people were trying to spread the shit. Charlie Kirk outright praised Netanyahu on multiple occasions, said that he was a special leader, said that he was everything a leader should be. So I'm just like,
I think, to be fair, the main reason why people are going in all these crazy conspiratorial directions, and not just the Israel one, but there's a lot of directions that people are taking this. I think the reason why is what we acknowledged earlier, is that there's not really a clear motive for why this kid did what he did. So people are filling in the blanks with the, hot conspiracy of the day, which, yeah, of course, is going to be involving Israel, thanks to the Epstein stuff and like all of this, seeming blackmail and control that they've exerted over our political life. So I think, obviously people are going to go to that. Obviously people are going to look at, his commentary on Israel over the last month specifically and see what was going on. And it's true that he was starting to open up his platform to more people, like, let's have on like Tucker Carlson and like Dave Smith and shit like that to like give the other side of the, Israel analysis. He just, the last conversation he had with Sagar was literally that. He had Sagar on to come on his show and explain why supporting Israel was not America first. So I do understand why people who have nothing really else to go on, they don't have any motive to go on. There's not very much transparency in this totally botched investigation, which has, turned up way more questions than it has answers. And then you look at his content and you see, oh, okay, so in the last literal month or so, he's starting to change his tune on Israel. It's not that hard to see why people online are going to fill in the blanks there. But yeah, it is obviously a little bit, premature.
Yeah, I just don't know how Benjamin Netanyahu would have gotten in contact with this fucking Mormon kid from Utah that's disenfranchised over Discord, and this is the guy that pulls the trigger. So unless the argument is going to be that they have the wrong guy, that this kid did not do it, like I just don't understand.
Well, obviously they want to be releasing the evidence. If they were like grooming him to do this, it's not like they would just release the evidence.
I mean, that's totally true, but I just mean given the fact that the evidence that we do have about this kid does not suggest
Or he's a
that.
patsy. You know, people that are actually suggesting that, you know, they would say that he's a patsy or like, you know, this is an actor or something.
Yeah,
No,
no,
I'm not going to sit here and like defend that conspiracy. It literally is a conspiracy. But I'm sure, yeah, they could answer those questions with their conspiracies.
I guess that would be the argument. Like he wasn't the guy. Like look
Right.
at the differences in the pictures and all that shit. So
And it is you know, sketchy. Like I was thinking earlier about, like, everyone moved on real quick from the kid who tried to kill Donald Trump. Like no one really talks about that anymore.
yeah.
Like what the fuck happened there? Like no one really talks that much about his ideology and stuff. So they probably are just hoping like, okay, we'll get this out of the news cycle quick. He's probably gonna get the death penalty. Soon he'll be dead. Oops, all the evidence was destroyed. Moving on. So yeah, it leaves people frustrated because they're like, the picture's not clear. There's all these weird discrepancies. Where did his gun go after he got off the roof? Like he didn't have time to disassemble it, yet apparently he did. He's wearing a different outfit in this video than this video. It's not adding up. And Kash Patel's bumbling all over himself, being like, we got the suspect, even though we didn't. And here's another billion pieces of like red herrings and stuff. It's just, again, I don't think, like, I'm not, it's kind of like with the 9/11 thing. Do I think that fucking, you know, Israel did 9/11 or that 9/11 was some crazy conspiracy?
That's why they did it, because Tucker's documentary was coming out, bro.
To
That's
distract.
what people are saying. That like it like I'll read like one, like this is the like essentially the whole conspiracy.
I'm sure a lot of dumb people are saying dumb shit.
Oh, like, but 100% they are. But I just, to give like full voice to the conspiracy that's going out here, I think it's best summed up by this take right here. It was all coordinated. They assassinated Charlie Kirk on 9/10. Later that day, the Senate narrowly won the vote 51-49 to not release the Epstein files. Then Charlie's death coverage overshadowed Tucker Carlson's 9/11 documentary that would have pointed out how Israel probably had a role in 9/11. Later that week, they began pushing through bans on Israeli boycotts in the United States, and then traitorous Congressman Brian Mast proposed legislation to give the Secretary of State Marco Rubio the authority to take away the passport of any citizen who questions Israel. The United States government is almost entirely captured by Israel. Now, some of those things are true, like the entire U.S. government is captured by Israel, but that does not mean that Benjamin Netanyahu orchestrated the assassination of Charlie Kirk. What it is that we have a fucking country run by opportunists, and they will capitalize on any major news story that they think is going to be beneficial to them, and they will spin it until it is.
Yeah. Also, it looks like, according to Reuters, prosecutors are going to be seeking the death penalty in this case.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Yeah, I guess I missed that, but yeah, someone in chat was saying there was like new messages released as well. So yeah, here it says Tyler 22 said, "I've had enough of his hatred." That's what he told his romantic partner and roommate when asked why he had committed the murder, according to transcripts of messages in court documents filed by prosecutors. So yeah,
Do we
let's
get
see if there's-
screenshots?
hopefully. I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it. That's the roommate whom officials have also described as Robinson's romantic partner, who was transitioning from male to female, found the note which read, "I had the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it."
So it's a handwritten note?
I'm not exactly sure. You weren't the one who did it, right? The roommate asked. "I am. I'm sorry," Robinson replied. So these are all, this is according to the DA, apparently.
Interesting.
Um,
Yeah, I would love to see the screenshots.
Yeah. In later text messages, Robin said he wished he had gone back and grabbed the rifle that he left in the bush immediately following the killing. And yeah, I apparently said, "I've had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out." Come on, bro. You're telling me you couldn't have just shown up to debate him? You could have changed his mind with facts and logic. And instead, no, I'm kidding. But I mean, assuming this is true, it just seems so vague. Like it just seems like if you're going to do something like this, you'd have a little bit more passion. This just sounds so like I just woke up one morning and it's like, I've had enough of his hatred. I'm going to take the opportunity to do it. Like, and we're not believing the cops. We're just reading the reporting, Michael.
Yeah.
I see someone in chat. We're literally questioning it right now because it does seem fucking sus. But yeah, this is what they're saying.
I don't know. I wanted, like, one of the things I really liked about Ken Klippenstein's article was he was like, here are the screenshots I've acquired. I reached out to people who directly participated in this. This is what those people said verbatim. This is the information I have. Make up your mind with it. This seems very selective, and they did not provide any screenshots. They didn't provide any, you know,
I mean, these are the prosecutors, so I imagine that they do have the evidence. Like, you know, I mean, this is all being presented in like a laying out the case or whatever. Like, it's not like they're just like pulling it all out of their ass. I'm sure they do have some level of evidence.
I mean, the Utah governor straight up lied about the evidence a few days ago. So I think it is worth challenging what what they're saying from like a government level at the state level, because the Utah governor has said things that were verbatim untrue, and they've had to walk back their story multiple times because of it. So I until like I'm in the pics or it didn't happen camp, no matter what the fucking argument is. Like,
I mean, pics can also be easily fucking faked. Like, you
True.
can make a fake text message thread.
I mean, that's true, but that would be wild to do. That would be wild. I mean, I guess you can't put anything past these people, and that's the big problem that I think we're all going to have, to kind of the point that you were making earlier, why people are jumping to the conclusion that Benjamin Netanyahu basically was the string puller for this guy, because nobody fucking knows, and it doesn't make any sense, and it all looks really shady.
Yeah, I mean, that being said, it's not that crazy. It's not that crazy given the insanely fascist world that our country, or the insanely fascist country that we've transitioned into over the last 6 months. Like, is it really that crazy that someone out there would be like, I'm gonna commit an act of violence against someone who I consider to be a perpetrator? Like, a lot of people are rightfully pissed off about this, and obviously I would never condone or recommend violence ever. But is it that crazy that someone would, like, I mean, political assassinations happen. Is it that crazy given the dramatic fucking changes this country's overgone in the past 6 months, that someone out there would be like, I'm gonna do something about this, quote unquote? I'm gonna, I mean, again, we've had politically motivated assassinations within the last 6 months. Luigi Mangione probably was inspired. He's probably like, I'm gonna do that too. I'm gonna go take out someone who I consider to be contributing to the evils of the world. Like, it's really not that hard to wrap your mind around why someone would do this, specifically if they knew a trans person IRL.
No, that wasn't what I was saying. I agree. Occam's razor is that is what happened. This was a radicalized individual that decided to go and do this. What I think smells funny is the way that the Utah governor came out and presented this in a way that was 100% not true, very misleading. That all of right-wing media picked it up and was like, "Yep, we know that for sure. This guy's Antifa. He's a radicalized left winger. He's doing this to start the next civil war." And then JD Vance gets in front of the fucking national television and says, "Yep, that's the same thing. We know the fucking left wing is full of insurgents," basically stoking a fire for a violent fucking outcome, right? Whatever it is, from the executive office of the United States of America. And then it comes out and it's like, whoa, that is not the story. And then to like shore up, and be like, no, it totally is, bro. We've got the most generic Chat GPT type fucking text descriptions. Oh yeah, he totally told me he was going to do it because he couldn't take the hatred anymore, man. Like, it doesn't really, like, something doesn't pass my smell test, and I just feel like there's...
So the official narrative doesn't pass your smell test, but also everyone who believes in the conspiracy theories is like also crazy. Like, what do you think then?
Well, I mean, I would proffer that just because I don't support the official narrative doesn't mean I'm going to buy a fucking narrative that has absolutely no evidence.
Well, I'm just saying, what's your opinion? Like, what do you think? Do you have any theories?
I guess the most likely evidence that I have is that I think that if he was motivated to do it out of a fucking loyalty to his trans partner, I think that it's on the table that we could speculate about that. If it comes out that it is true, this guy had a trans partner. Okay, I think that makes sense to me, right? Kind of Dog Day Afternoon style, right? Except instead of a bank robbery, it's a fucking, a murder from a rooftop. Okay, like, this dude was motivated out of love for a partner who, was transitioning and getting pissed off about it. But to me, there would have to be like fucking a lot more emotional conversations that are going on between that partner and this guy. Like, if he is motivated to avenge like this hateful fucking guy that he can't fucking stand because he loves this person and this person's talking, like, there's going to be a trail there, and I want to see it. Now, if that trail emerges, I will 100% be like, this is the fucking trail that emerged. But I also think it's possible that the dude was a groiper, like we talked about, that this guy was listening to Nick Fuentes all the time, that he hated Charlie Kirk, that he was, one, angry about how he was positioning towards trans people, but also angry about how he was, positioning on other things. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back, and he decided that he was going to, take the first shot in this war of the Groypers versus the fucking, fake America Firsters, like the Rhinos, the Republicans, and I don't know what the fuck the Groypers call the Charlie Kirks of the world, but fake MAGA, essentially, right? And I think that that's a very likely outcome. What I don't think is a very likely outcome is that somehow Benjamin Netanyahu got involved, planted seeds in this kid's brain.
It wouldn't be Netanyahu himself.
I'm just saying,
It wouldn't literally be Benjamin.
like you give me the best argument that this kid was fucking reached on one of these Discord servers by Mossad or something, and that's why he did it, so that they could make sure they took care of the all powerful Charlie Kirk, who was about to really shake things up.
You're just straw manning the case, and I'm not even someone who believes in this theory, but I do think that a more good faith interpretation of the theory would be that if Israel wanted to create something that would give them the excuse to create a crackdown on anti-Israel speech in America, it could be something like this, the death of a person like Charlie Kirk, who then you could easily blame on anti-Israel, pro-Palestine radicals, therefore creating the path to crack down, which we're already seeing. They're literally already using this. Israel is already using this to try to sow or manufacture consent for their genocide.
Yeah, and
they're saying Charlie
that.
Kirk, was 100% with us, and because of his death, you should support Israel.
Mural of Charlie up in Tel Aviv now,
like 24 hours after the fucking death, and Netanyahu's out on a fucking press circuit talking about, oh, of course how could you even suggest that we had anything to do with this? So obviously, I don't think that's true. But I do think that, given this government's shady history of assassinations and its shady history with Israel, I don't think it's insane for people that, don't really pay too much attention to just like put that together. Because again, I mean, conspiracies are crazy. People are going to blame Israel for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, and I do find myself in the position where it's like, well, do I really want to go to bat for Israel? Do I really want to sit here and be like, they would never do such a thing? I don't. I just think that there's a far more likely outcome. I think that it's more like, I think Occam's razor is that he did act independently because of his own political motives or his own emotional motives. And I will say that I think it was either out of like commitment to a trans partner, if that turns out to be true, right? Because again, they keep referencing this trans partner, but it's not like we've seen a bunch of pictures of them. It's not like
apparently that person is cooperating with the authorities and has been interviewed now a number of times. It was revealed through those interviews that this trans individual had no idea that this was going to go down, and that's why they weren't charged as an accessory, because they genuinely seemed shocked and they had no clue that this was happening. Which again, it's crazy that you could keep this so well hidden and private that you just seem like a totally normal person, and unbeknownst to all your friends and even your partner, you're plotting the assassination of an extremely high profile individual. Like, that's just crazy.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know. I guess to me, I just feel like if you're going to do this brazen act out of devotion to your partner, you would have fucking at least let them know before you went and did it, and then we're risking your fucking, death. You know what I mean?
I mean, it couldn't have just been, it might have been beyond just his partner. It also could have just been because he was like someone that genuinely did have solidarity with the trans community beyond his partner, and was like, this guy's out here spreading absolutely disgusting, bigoted talking points about how trans people are responsible for school shootings and all this stuff. So, like it might not have just been like a romantic gesture. It might have just been like, this guy was increasingly in touch or in tune with the LGBT community online, getting insights about the Trump administration's war on their rights, right? Getting radicalized, listening to certain people talk about their experience. But who knows? We're totally just fucking speculating here. And again, even if he was proudly part of the trans community or an ally of the trans community, that doesn't mean he wasn't a fucking groyper. Lots of groypers are LGBT. Lots of furries are Nazis. I'm not saying if you're a furry that you're a Nazi. Obviously, I don't think there's anything wrong with
just a
being
Venn
a furry.
diagram overlap.
Yeah, there's just a Venn diagram overlap, and there is.
You're just as likely to be a hardcore commie.
Yeah, 100%, literally.
I mean, but it's like anybody, right? And I think that's important to point out. Like, trans people are people,
right? But when it comes to furries specifically, though, furries are more online.
I'm not an expert on furries.
I just think in general, most furries are pretty online people.
Yeah.
They're very online people. And so are most Nazis. You know what I'm saying? Like, most normal people that aren't fucking terminally online don't gravitate towards a bunch of Nazi shit because they're just like busy doing normal things. But if you're terminally online enough to be deep in the furry community, it's a pretty good chance you're also terminally online enough to be deep in the Nazi community. So again, I'm painting with a very broad brush, and I would say the vast majority of furries are not Nazis.
Of course, yeah.
Just to be clear. But there is an overlap there that I think a lot of people who aren't terminally online might not know about, because they just assume if you're a furry, then you have to be a bleeding heart liberal, trans, LGBT person.
Yeah, 100%. You know, and I guess, Gavin, one last thing before we move on to Pierce that we could just fucking agree on, right? Is that we got to give it up to the right wing for being so principled in a time like this. Cenk Uygur wants to add, you have to give credit to the right for staying principled on hate speech. Whenever anyone is in power, all of a sudden they start talking about hate speech because it's such an obvious way to shut down dissent. But when Pam Bondi suggested it, the right pushed back. Nice job. Jake, on what fucking planet do you live on? Because all I have seen is right-wingers cheering for more strict, more strict restrictions, I guess is the way I'm trying to put it, on American free speech rights. Basically, the shredding of the First Amendment. Just this morning, Donald Trump sued the New York Times for $15 billion.
Yeah, that's crazy. $15 billion. I'm like, that's just like a fake amount of money.
Trying to put them under.
Like, that's so fucking crazy. But yeah, it's ridiculous for Cenk to come out here and act like we have to give credit to the fucking right wing. Credit to the right fucking wing. It's disgusting. Meanwhile, people like Marjorie Taylor Greene have been tweeting about how, like, this is the left's fault. Like, there's no reasoning with the left because they just killed Charlie Kirk. And Marjorie is the person that he's been fucking holding up as like a reasonable populist right winger that we should work with. Meanwhile, she blamed the entire left, the whole entire side of the aisle that Cenk pretends to be a part of, all got blamed by that fucking woman. I can try to find that tweet real quick because it was just disgusting. I was fucking vomiting reading it because the fact that Cenk fucking, pretends like she's someone who, like, we should take seriously or whatever. I'm gonna have to scroll for a second, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, it is crazy. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past on other live streams. The Young Turks has become a right-wing media outlet. It is like sometimes we're critical of like abstract.
It's like Dave Smith kind of coded or some shit.
Exactly. There are issues where they will disagree and Cenk will diverge with Trump when it comes to like a super unpopular issue amongst the Republican Party, like Israel and Palestine. And I'm not saying that that's, why he'll diverge on that. I do think that Cenk is principled in his support for Palestine, but I will say that he's angled his network as I will praise Republicans and only criticize them for their, Israel policy. And I'll also talk about how the Democrats are just as bad on that. So it really is like a propaganda outlet for Republicans now. They get their most views by far when they're praising people like Tucker Carlson, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Dave Smith, etc.
Yeah. And again, after like 10, 15, 20, just like slobbering segments about how awesome Marjorie Taylor Greene is on the Young Turks, she tweets this out: "There is nothing left to talk about with the left." Again, and Cenk's out here talking about how I can't believe how principled the right wing is. Even though Cenk and Anna have been in overtime praising this woman, she still says there's nothing left to talk about with the left. They hate us. They assassinated our nice guy who actually talked to them peacefully, debating ideas. And again, at the time this was posted, there's really not enough fucking evidence to say who the assassin was or what his political motivations was, or if he was even sane enough
even now
to fucking know what he was doing or be associated with any movement. Like it's very possible this kid was just deeply mentally ill too, and that whatever his politics were, it's kind of irrelevant. You know what I'm saying?
I think that's maybe half as likely. That we'll find out that this guy is just like a fucking idiot, right? And that he did something crazy, and that he's kind of like a John Hinckley Jr. kind of a guy, right? He's kind of like, one of these assassins that you're like, man, I don't even think that, you should have lived on your own at all. Like you kind of, you have the hallmarks of somebody who's like, needs to have like institutional support kind of. We might find that out about this guy. Obviously, none of his friends have indicated that. So I think that is worth knowing. They haven't come out and been like, oh, this is a slow guy. But even right now, we have no evidence to believe that this guy did this as an act of a leftist.
Look out the door if you hear an ambulance. The Vanguard The Vanguard will be there. Be there. The Vanguard will be there.